back, everybody. We're streaming live from my house, and
the basement lair.
Yeah, it's not yellow. I mean, your house is kind of has that yellow wall, and then that old room you used to go to in Boston was kind of yellow, and then
yeah, right. Yeah, it's more. If you watch House Hunters, it's that 2016 gray color that was all the rage a couple of years ago.
You do have some odd feedback coming across from you.
Oh no!
It sounds like.
Is it because this thing was rubbing against the door? No,
I don't know. It sounds like a tea kettle going in and out.
Oh, I don't hear it.
Maybe it's just my tinnitus.
Hopefully, while we're sitting here, the hot water heater that's on the other side of this wall will kick in, and then you'll hear that.
Well, speaking of things you are going to hear, you're going to hear a little clip from our friends over at Smart Deploy. Smart Deploy allows IT departments to re-image unlimited computer models from one golden image. Search their library for your models and grab your exclusive free licenses at smartdeploy.com/therot.
It's a very concise ad.
It is. And I think I ran the same one yesterday. I've got 3, and it's supposed to rotate through, but I don't think the script is working correctly that I wrote, which is, surprise, surprise, Brad wrote some code, and it's just not working the way he thought it was going to work.
Somewhere there's a bank that's taking a half cent out of every transaction and throwing it into Brad's account.
Oh, man, that'd be nice. That's from the movie. What movie is that? Office?
Yeah, you're getting there, though. You're right. It is from a movie.
Office Space.
I'm sorry. You're thinking of Office Space.
I am.
Of course you are. And you're correct. I'm sorry. It's originally from Superman 3, but which they reference in Office Space. But yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess this isn't all that surprising that the Google Assistant now works with Xbox, like, hell froze things.
Well, actually, the real hell freezing in some ways will be if and when the Google Assistant comes to Windows 10, right? Which you have to think is imminent.
Yeah, you would think. You would think it'll show up about the same time the Google Maps app shows up in the Windows Store.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, the Amazon ones, I can't say the name. The Amazon one is there. Cortana is there for now. And
but Amazon and Google Assistants are both on Xbox now. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I wonder how long until Bixby barges into the party so nobody can use it. That
will happen after they release this smart speaker that they announced like 15 months ago, or whatever that was.
I think 15 months might be generous at this point. That thing was supposed to kick out the door.
Oh, man. I need a new hibachi, so I hope they release that thing soon.
A new hibachi. Wow. And Siri, I guess maybe, I don't know if that's ever coming to the Xbox. That would be.
It's not, you know what? It's not impossible.
Yeah.
They released iTunes to the Windows Store. I don't think anyone ever thought that would happen.
That is true. That is absolutely true. That did show up there. Although it's not the new iTunes. It's.
Yeah, no, of course. But still, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't discount it.
Yeah, so that could be happening too. The other thing happening in the Google camp is the RCS is now rolling out to, and that's rich content something or other.
I think it's rich communication service.
That would make more sense. The only thing that creeps me out about this is that it goes through Google servers instead of your carriers, which I don't know which devil is worse.
Yeah, well, this is because none of the U.S. carriers are supporting it directly yet because they're terrible and they always have been. The other issue, of course, is that Apple doesn't support RCS, and it'd be kind of cool if they did for cross-platform compatibility. But
I'll keep holding my breath.
Yeah, I don't recommend that, but you never know.
Yeah,
they just did release the magic of the MacBook 16, so
I do hope that Google does the asinine thing. It makes the bubbles purple or whatever. Like if you're chatting, right? iMessage is blue. If you're using whatever the carrier when it's green, and then
right.
I bet they do. Honestly, I bet they do, because isn't the RCS end-to-end encrypted? Wasn't that one of the benefits of it?
I don't recall that, but that could be.
Be. So if that shakes out to be true, then maybe purple is. Whoa.
Look, we don't live in a perfect world. In a perfect world, RCS would be just what it was, and it would be available everywhere, including iPhone. And we could put an end to the stupidity of proprietary network around messaging. But
Yeah, the big feature will be if it ever comes to the desktop. That's kind of the
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean that too. But the big deal there is, it's like features we kind of have elsewhere,
Mhm.
depending on what you're using, like the ability to send messages over Wi-Fi, not just over cellular, bigger photos, bigger videos, kind of read receipt type functionality,
Yep.
improved group messaging. Yeah, I mean, we I don't know, depending on your network, depending on your provider, depending
Hmm.
on your phone, you've kind of had some of that stuff here and there, or all of it. iPhone users obviously have all of that in their own, but only in their own world, like only with other iPhone users.
Yeah. I honestly hope they do bring like an application to the desktop. That would be maybe the final one that gets Apple to release their. And
So Google does offer their Messages app on the desktop. It's kind of a
Mhm.
little air quotes thing because it's the web app. They do have a web app version of it.
Yeah.
And if you're using, I can't reach my phone from here, but if you're using Android Messages, which is the Google app, it default by installed by default on
Hmm.
many Android phones, not all of them. Samsung notably has its own Messages app,
Hmm.
but you can install it from the Google Play Store. There's an option if you go into settings, it will. I don't remember the exact wording, that's why I can't reach the phone, but there's something to the effect of get Messenger on desktop, and you can do it on Windows 10. You kind of half install it as you do like with a web app using a Chrome or any Chromium based browser, and it works. It's pretty great. It's kind of like the messaging part of your phone by
Yeah.
itself, and it's for whatever it's worth, it's actually more reliable than your phone,
Yeah. I was
but
gonna
it
say
is on the desktop.
RCS is gonna take over right as your phone gets up and running.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then other things happening. So Microsoft had their XO event yesterday in London,
right.
and earlier this week, Google announced 12 titles coming to Stadia, 12 of them. And yesterday, just very conveniently timed, Microsoft announced that there's now 50 titles available on xCloud.
Yeah, there's kind of a snowballing that is occurring here
Hmm.
where obviously last year when Microsoft was talking about xCloud and how this was coming, and I don't think they called it xCloud at the time, but there was a game streaming service, whatever it was. And then, of course, Google announces theirs.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, God. And then they're like, okay, we're going to ship in November. And everyone's like, oh, my God, what's going on here? And then they show that kind of cool, controller direct connection thing. And it's like, oh, geez, like Microsoft, but they're never going to catch up. And I was like,
Hmm.
guys, relax. Like, there's nothing Google can do that Microsoft can't. And Microsoft has this incredible decade plus the 15, 20 year, whatever it is, almost 20-year experience with
Hmm.
game makers, publishers, and and the whole thing. And this announcement at what are they called? XO19 or whatever, kind of highlighted that really nicely. Also, aside from just the 50 games or whatever it is, the 56 games
Hmm.
that are basically available now, whatever the number was. Did you see they also had some figure in there about like the number of games that are compatible with xCloud?
No.
It was like 3,200.
Basically every game,
Yeah, it's
probably, or
like it's
pretty.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
So and again, it just so we're kind of clear, like if you like let's say you bought Stadia and you
Hmm.
paid for some game and whatever it was, like that thing is specific to Stadia. But if you are an Xbox gamer and you're moving forward to xCloud or you're using it in addition to whatever else you might be doing, and you get this and you get access to the games that you've already purchased or had, were playing through Xbox Game Pass or whatever, everything continues.
Hmm.
So all your achievements, your game progress, you can kind of mix and match. And this is the type of thing I meant, months ago when I was saying like Microsoft has this huge advantage. You saw this, Brad, I know on the xCloud preview, and I saw it as well, where I was like a particular part of the way through the game Gears 5, and I picked it up on Project xCloud, and it picked up exactly where it was before. It's the same game, you know,
Yeah.
and it's huge. It's just a huge advantage.
The other thing too that they announced was that if you bought a game, if you already own a title, that you can use it with xCloud.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
you can just use it. To me, it sounds the interesting approach here is, and I say this with a slight caveat, that Microsoft is taking the approach that xCloud is this thing that you can just go use if you want. Like it's not the
right.
primary service. It's there as a benefit. Whereas Google is saying this is the only thing we've got, and if
Yep.
you don't use it, well, that's it. There's
Does
nothing
this
else.
strategy sound familiar to anybody? I mean, it's like what Microsoft did with hybrid computing in the
Hmm.
cloud, in the enterprise. I mean, it's just it's just such a weird thing to say, but if you care about Xbox, you should be thankful that they didn't win this past console generation, because it caused a real rethinking at the company about how things work. And they've
Yep.
turned Xbox into this most wonderful of gaming services. It's not just xCloud, it's everything else they've done. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And this is the culmination of that. And yeah, I mean, eventually this may be the whole thing. Maybe eventually this is Xbox. But today, and in the near future, you will have this great variety of choices. And it kind of started with moving a lot of the stuff to the PC, which was kind of long overdue. I think we would all agree. And then just making everything kind of work everywhere. And so now they're adding mobile into the mix as well. And so like this time next year, I would imagine you'll be able to play these Xbox games wherever you want, any screen, any device, whatever.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I need to try out the new games because I think Madden is included.
I'm not sure which ones are. Yeah, I haven't even. I'm away right now, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But
I want to give Madden a try because I haven't played Madden in a while. But why not play?
I need this on a bigger screen. That's my thing. iPad would be great. PC would be even better.
Yeah, which it is coming in 2020. I mean, that's no surprise. They've been saying that all along, but we just don't know when.
Like I was talking to someone from Xbox, and they're like, "Oh, how's it going with the game and everything?" I'm like, "Well, my phone is this big, and I'm 53 years old, and I can barely see it. So it's great. Like I love that it looks great and everything, but I mean, like the text and all the little
sure,
the on-screen HUD stuff is like so small. If you have like captioning on in a game, like I couldn't possibly read that on a 5 or 6 inch screen. It's just too small. But anyway, it will get there.
It will. And it's, I say early days, but clearly they're feeling pretty confident. Moving to new markets, I think Canada, Western Europe, India, and I think Japan is on that list somewhere. So
yeah, it's going to be wherever Xbox is, obviously.
What else is going on in the world? You're in Boston for how long?
Just for the weekend.
Yeah. Just in time to get back to get your Stadia controller, Paul, where you can play Tomb Raider.
I have canceled my Stadia order, Brad.
Did you?
Yep.
Wow.
This is look, I feel like you and I and people like us can justify a lot of these purchases that we make, right? Because, we have to write about it. We have to know what's going on, blah, 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 whatever it is. And I pre-ordered this thing on day one. It's in the screenshot. It was June something. I don't remember, June 6th or something like that. And the theory at the time was like, obviously I want to know what's going on with Stadia. I'm curious about it. I was really impressed with the early announcements. I figured it would hit before Microsoft service, and that's obviously true. I mean, in fact, it's possible xCloud won't be broadly available until like this time next year. I have no idea what the exact schedule is. We'll see, but it doesn't really matter. It'll be next year sometime. But there have been these things kind of chipping away at this choice, all the stuff that Google has sort of revealed in the interim where it's like, well, actually, unless you're using a Chromecast Ultra, you're going to have to use a cable with the controller. Well, actually, we're only going to have 12 games at launch. Well, actually, all those features we announced, they're not all going to be there on day one. And then, of course, it was yesterday's announcement. Microsoft's like, okay, here's 50 more games. I was like, yep, it's okay. We're done. There is no reason for me to look at anything else. It doesn't matter how good the latency is, how good the controller is, anything, because the reality is these services are not competitive with each other. They're just not. That's my perspective. So
yeah, no, I don't think you're alone in that thought either.
Yeah.
So.
And so everyone was so worried about Google, and I get it, and I got it, but I think the reality of the situation has kind of unfolded over time, and they're just not on equal footing. These are just not the same thing. I'm sorry. So I just didn't see any reason to spend $130 on something I wasn't going to use, and I canceled it.
I, on the other hand, I'm going to spend $130 on something I'm probably not going to use.
Actually, I'm kind of glad you are, honestly, because I feel like someone should.
Yeah.
Someone
should burn that money in the backyard.
Someone who can write something about it on the site and everything. Yeah. I just don't, we'll see. I mean, there'll be other things. I mean, Sony obviously will come out with whatever they come out with. I haven't really paid enough attention to what Sony's already doing, right, with PS Now and so forth. I mean, they've got some good stuff today. Microsoft also announced, by the way, they're going to support PlayStation DualShock controllers on the service. Of course they are. Any Bluetooth controllers. And so I think they're just kind of chipping away at everything. And it's just funny to me, as of next week, when Stadia ships, I feel like Xbox is actually going to be in a better place, even though their product is not broadly available.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. If the only way this is going to work out long term for Google is if they start to see some success from Stadia early on, and then it's going to be a really long, slow drip for them to climb up, because they're going to have to do the same thing Microsoft is doing now. They're going to have to start buying exclusive titles effectively, because why would you play Call of Duty on Stadia when you have it on Xbox and PlayStation and everywhere else? So,
by the way, that's a good point, and that was actually also part of that decision. I didn't mention that. There's nothing unique on Stadia.
No, there's 3 of the 12 titles. 3 of them are Tomb Raider.
Yeah, right. That's 3. Yeah. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I don't mean it like that, but I don't know. The market that they're serving is already well served, I think, by Xbox and PlayStation. Right? Is kind of what I think of as the non-casual video game market.
Yeah.
And then, hardcore video games, another thing. Obviously, there are a lot of PC players in that scheme. And then there are some console players who kind of fall into that category too. But I think that kind of middle of the market, mainstream console type gaming market, we're kind of done, aren't we? Like, we don't really, it's like the phone market. We don't really need another one. I know Nintendo, you could argue, is sort of in there. But I think Nintendo operates in a special place. It's kind of the Disney of video games. And that's fine. That's cool. Like, there's obviously that alternative exists. So the rest of this, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't see the point.
We'll see. I mean, Microsoft has I don't want to say moved beyond video games, but they've moved on to streaming, right? That's their big strategy push lately, is they've been signing up. They announced another one yesterday on stage, is to sign up these massive personalities who are then streaming on their platforms, which again, Google could do with YouTube. And they have that. Did they even talk about that? Remember the one killer feature I thought they had was that they could show a demo on YouTube, and then you click a button, and then you're instantly playing the game in your browser. That to me was the killer feature, because that's the best advertising you can get. Like, I just click this button and start playing. But I don't think they've talked about if that's coming down.
That might be among those features that's not going to be available right at launch. And that's one of those. That's the thing. Like, it's an interesting feature. I think most people who are on YouTube watching, well, no, that's not fair. I was going to say most people who are on YouTube watching videos aren't necessarily want to play a game. Actually, I think a lot of people who watch videos on YouTube are doing it to get tips for how they can better play the game. So maybe they would want to jump right in. But I don't know. I think video game viewing and video game playing are a lot like sports, A lot of people do one, not the other.
Yeah.
And, we'll see. And that's something Google can bring to the table, because they own YouTube. It's hugely popular, et cetera, et cetera. But when you think about the natural advantages that Microsoft has in this market, it kind of comes down to this cloud computing infrastructure and their ability. And by the way, my Google Assistant on my phone just popped up with some brilliant bit of action based on what I just said. But anyway, their advantages is so much more pertinent, I think, to the job. Their ability to stream at scale is what's going to make this thing successful.
Yeah. Yep. We will see. Time will tell. Time will be the true arbiter of success here. So
fair enough.
Yeah. You got anything else for today, Mr. Bob?
No, I guess not. I mean, I'm going to try to get some work done over the weekend, but we're going to be out with friends and stuff today and tomorrow, and then Sunday we drive home. And based on my experience yesterday or last night, you ever see, like, even do like a drive in Google Maps, and like most of the drive is red, and you're like, this can't be right. I don't know. I saw parts of Connecticut I never want to see again last night. It was just not good.
Well, there you go.
Not saying anything wrong with Connecticut. I was
going to say, we haven't angered a state in a while. Connecticut, you're up.
Connecticut, you're on the draw. It's your turn. Spin the wheel. Oh, Connecticut. Screw you guys.
If only you didn't exist. So. All right. Well, folks, that wraps it up for today. Make sure you check out that Smart to Play offer down below. smarttoplay.com/therot for your exclusive offer. We'll catch all of you right back here Monday, unless Connecticut gets in the way.
Is there a way to go home that's not through Connecticut?